You ever feel like that? Like you're running on a treadmill, just trying to keep up with a world that's changing faster and faster? What if there was a better way? A way to not just survive all this chaos, but to actually, thrive in it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. A really simple but powerful idea for finding your footing when the ground just won't stay still. So, first things first, let's just all get on the same page and acknowledge the one fundamental challenge that I think connects every single one of us right now. And it's this. It's so simple, but so true. The terrain just keeps shifting. The ground under our feet, in our careers, in our lives, it just doesn't feel stable anymore, does it? It feels like the old rules just don't apply. So this is the real question, isn't it? In a world that's constantly in flux, how do you find your footing? How do you move forward with some confidence instead of just feeling like you're barely hanging on? Well, the answer, and this is what's so cool about it doesn't come from some grand 5-year plan. It actually comes from a small, kind of accidental experiment, a personal story that really unlocked a whole new way of thinking. So the person behind this idea was feeling that same uncertainty we all do, and they just decided to try something totally new. It was a guided group reflection session. It wasn't a big product launch or some huge new thing, just a small one-time session, a simple test. And here's where it gets really interesting. The shift in mindset here was huge. Instead of trying to be the expert with all the answers, the goal was simply to create a safe space, to hold the container, so to speak. Think of it like a greenhouse for people's ideas. The job wasn't to teach, but to just provide the space and then get out of the way.
And the journey itself was a bit of a roller coaster. At the beginning, it felt weird, awkward, uncomfortable, and that's totally normal when you're trying something new, right? But then something started to shift. It started to expand in unexpected ways. And by the end, it wasn't some loud, flashy success. It was this quiet, deeply rewarding feeling.
So this small, totally unplanned experiment, it led to this massive aha moment, a powerful mental shift that can honestly change how we approach everything. And it all comes down to the power of reframing what we do with 2 little words. What if? This quote just nails it, doesn't it? This wasn't something that had to succeed. It didn't need to become a product or fit into some rigid plan. It was just an experiment. And with that, all the pressure was just gone. Can you just imagine that feeling for a second? When you take away that massive weight of expectation, the whole thing just feels lighter. That fear of failure, that pressure to perform, it just kind of evaporates. And that's the crucial point. When you don't have to label something a success or a failure, you're free to just look at it with curiosity, to be honest about it. Instead of asking, was that good or bad, you can ask, what did I learn there? What was surprising? What could I try differently? You see, it's a total shift from judgment to discovery. Okay, so this whole epiphany, it's not just a nice story. It's actually the foundation for a really practical framework, a playbook that any one of us can use to navigate our own changing world. So let's break it down. So we basically have a choice. You can see it here. On the left, we can cling tightly to all the fixed things, our job title, our daily routine, who we think we are. And we all know what happens when those things change, right? It can be crushing. Or on the right, we can try experimenting lightly. This means getting clear on what matters to us, our values, and then just choosing a general direction, running little tests and seeing what happens. So here it is, the whole playbook boiled down into 3 simple steps. First, direction over directives. Think compass, not a rigid turn-by-turn map. Second, experiments over rigid plans. Just try small things. And third, and this might be the most important, reflection over judgment. It's this beautiful cycle of learning and adapting and growing. And if there's one thing to really take away from all this, it's this. In a world where everything is always changing, the only true constant is you. Your plans will break, your roles will change, but your ability to choose a direction, to experiment, and to reflect, that is your anchor. That is your true north. Okay, so we have the playbook. Now it's your turn. This is where we turn all this great theory into action. This is about you. So let's just start here. No pressure. This does not have to be some massive life change. Just think of one area, one direction where you'd like to maybe grow or explore a little bit this month. Could be a new skill, a relationship, anything. What's one direction that just feels kind of interesting to you right now? All right, you got a direction? Now, what's one or two tiny little experiments you could try? And remember the rule, absolutely no pressure for it to work or be right. You're just a scientist, playfully collecting some data about your own life. That's it. And finally, here's the secret sauce. When will you give yourself just 5 or 10 minutes to pause and ask yourself, how did that actually feel for me? This isn't about judging the outcome, it's about honoring your own experience. Because look, the world is absolutely going to keep changing. But with a playbook like this, you have the power to not just navigate the chaos, but to actually create your own path through it. So, what's your first experiment going to be?